you have that going, when you have that rocket burning below you. Once that last engine, the second stage, shuts off and everything gets quiet and they're in weightlessness, that's when we can say it's a successful launch. We're looking forward to that time. But those 8.5 minutes, we need to really pay attention.
Thank you, Mike. And once again, as Mike said earlier in our show, it will be accelerating from 0 to 17,500 miles an hour in only 8 minutes. It's truly mind-boggling, that thrust, that 1.8 million pounds of thrust. As we get down to 1 minute, we're going to lay out, we're going to listen to Launch Control communicating with Doug and Bob.
Falcon 9 is ready for countdown. STS is armed for launch.
You've heard it all there. They are armed for launch. The fueling is done. Now 45 seconds comes
Ready, SpaceX, go for launch.
That is the launch director. They are ready to go. We are getting very close to T-minus 30 seconds. And you will hear a number of instructions.
30 seconds.
A number of instructions to them once we take off. Space Launch Live. First time in nearly a decade. American astronauts on an American spacecraft
Stage 1,
launching
pressing
from
for
American soil.
15 seconds.
And here comes the countdown now.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon and NASA SpaceX Godspeed Final Time.
F1D throttle down.
The throttle down call is because they are getting ready to the most aerodynamic stressful part of this flight. So they take the power down just slightly.
There is the 1,000 miles per hour mark. That's 621 miles per hour.
So the vehicle is supersonic.
F1D throttle up.
Throttling up. There's max Q, the max aerodynamic pressure peak, the most mechanical stress on the rocket. As I look up and we can still see the orange glow, and I tell you what, it took 5 seconds for the vibration and sound from that liftoff to affect us here. You can still see it just screaming almost straight up, even though they're pointing a little bit downrange now.
Start that back in mid-kill.
Approaching rapidly 3,000 kilometers per hour. That is 1,864 miles per hour.
Chris, when you see that plume coming out of the back expanding, that's because there's not as much atmospheric pressure on it, so that's why it expands out like that. And we are getting, that first stage engine is going to fire for about another 20 seconds, 23 seconds.
And Christian, that is really a step that we want to pay attention to, that separation of the first stage that will then return back to Earth.
Yeah, we're going to get very busy here in about 5 seconds. You're going to see Nico, the main engine cut off, and then you're going to see the separation. And we're standing by for that.
Eco.
So the main shut down, and you see separation there too. That is
Back
the first
ignition.
stage falling away.
See also down
The second
before
stage is going to
stage
fire.
left, leaving the stage 2. They're now approaching 7,000 kilometers per hour, which is 4,049 miles per hour.
Now the thing to watch now, Chris, is that first stage. It's going to be
nominal.
That means means that's good news. That's the rocket that's still on the Dragon, is doing its job, moving these guys into an orbit that will put about 200 kilometers below the space station. And you can actually see that second photo. It's great to see inside. There's the triple screen of the two astronauts. The Dragon and the Falcon are basically, actually it's the second stage now, are on autonomous power. But Chris, we really want to pay attention to that first stage. As Davenport says, it's a secondary mission, but it sure is cool to watch it land on that ship out in the Atlantic.
Quickly approaching 8,000 kilometers per hour, which is nearly 5,000 miles per hour. They are really moving. And Bob and Doug appearing very, very cool, calm, and collected in the Dragon capsule. Amazing to get that live shot of what they're experiencing right now. I want to bring in Mike Massimino. Mike, take us through what Bob and Doug are going through.
Stage 2 propulsion is still nominal.
They are so well trained for this, Chris. They've had countless simulations, played everything, every emergency possible. They're just looking and hoping and praying that everything's going well. It looks like it is. I know that first stage, we're going to be excited to see that, but the world that Bob and Doug are living in is just making sure that that engine is continuing to burn, that they're still on the right trajectory. All the systems are looking good, and it looks like they are. As we see them just watching, that's probably a good sign. That means all the automatic sequences are working well. We don't hear too much chatter coming from the control center, from MCC. That's a good thing too.
Almost to
And then
10,000.
when you hear that word nominal,
Go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
when you hear that word nominal coming, no, it's fine. When you hear that word nominal, that's always good. That's the NASA jargon for everything is A-OK. We're looking good, just like we expect. So we want to keep hearing that for a few more minutes and get those engines cut and get them in space safely.
And there's that 10,000 kilometers per hour threshold, which is just over 6,200 miles per hour. And the picture on the right, I have to keep reminding myself that that's a live shot. It looks like the greatest science fiction movie ever produced. It's just so fantastic that the launch was a go today and has been a success so far. Really, really amazing stuff. David Curley, what's the feeling like on the ground? Are you seeing the first stage rocket at all coming back?
Not yet. You can see it. It's got about another 3 minutes until it'll do its entry burn, and there are 9 Merlin rocket engines on that.
trajectory.
They say everything is normal with their trajectory, meaning they're heading onto the right path to try and get on the effort to catch up to the space station. So you're seeing in the first stage, you can see those grid fins that you mentioned, Chris Jacobs, that will help guide it. But at 8:45, so plus 8:45, coming up in about 2 minutes, you'll see 3 of those